Glad to have everyone watching tonight. I know I've done like two of these in 1 week, but I kind of wanted to get this information out there this week. And I've got some good things planned. I've already got a couple of show guests lined up for next week and probably the week after. And very interestingly, we're going to be discussing with one of our guests the history of high school fishing around North Louisiana. Who started it? What started it? How did all that begin? And I'm going to have on another person, and we're going to be discussing Caney Lake and the history of Caney Lake. He's gone back and gotten the history all the way back to like the 60s. And then we're going to move forward. I was down at Caney from about the 86, 87 time frame into the mid 90s. So anyway, we're going to go through the whole history of that, and that show will be coming up within the next week or two as well. So anyway, got some pretty good things planned. Got just a few people watching tonight. That's fine. That's great. I'm glad to have everybody and anybody that's watching. Let me hear from you in the comments. One thing about it, whether you agree with anything that I'm going to say or disagree with it, let me hear you in the comments. Also, tag and share this out. I mean, one, it's just cool to do. But number two, I'm kind of in the quasi Facebook, I wouldn't say Facebook jail, but I'm been put in a Facebook timeout. And interestingly, I'm pretty sure I know what and who is behind all that. And I always have a backup plan, so no problem. I'll still be able to get my content out there. I may just have to get louder and louder and put this out on more platforms as well. But let me just warn anybody, if you try to deplatform me, I'll just continue to get louder and louder, and I always have a backup plan. Okay, so let's start off with, because I'm not going to keep everybody that's watching very long tonight. We've been on this kick about the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. And just to quickly summarize some of the previous show information, I was accused of turning in some tournament organizations, and now I found out I was actually accused of turning in more than one, to whoever about the scales. I had zero to do with that. I've shown you all the emails that prove that I haven't, coming from my public information request directly to the Department of Agriculture. I didn't even think you had to have a certified scale for a tournament, for a fishing tournament, because like I've said over and over, if the scale's off for one person, it's off for all of them. So why do you have to have certified scales? But apparently you do. And we have gone way down that rabbit hole. So it appears that some of the tournaments around the area have been operating without certified scales and without getting their WeighMaster certified. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, I want to be clear. While that is a violation of the law, it is treated as a civil penalty. Again, you can go back to show 10 and watch that. And I kind of explain and show the penalties for it. So I'm not saying that they're going to come lock you up and throw you in jail or something, but most tournaments, except for jackpot tournaments, most tournaments require you to follow the law. And in some cases, some of these tournaments aren't actually following the law themselves. So it's kind of a, double-edged sword there. And if there was ever a dispute or discrepancy, and that's been pointed out in the emails from the Louisiana Department of Agriculture, if there was ever some discrepancy in that and you didn't have certified scales and you try to go to court over it, it would be a little challenging for some tournaments. So, all right, let's see. Yeah, and that, the whole Facebook swatting thing, here's what that means. That must mean that I, unfortunately, am right over the target, and I'm hitting some folks with some information and bombs that they don't necessarily like and appreciate. And so the best retaliation they can do is to try to swat me off Facebook. Again, trust me, that's not going to work, and it might really come back to bite you tenfold, so be careful. All right. Let's get into the emails from the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. And again, I encourage everybody to comment, ask questions, point out if I make a mistake or something like that. If I say something that's not correct, feel free to point that out in the comments. I do not mind that at all. All right. Like, share, and tag. Let's get some more folks watching. All right, so let's get to these emails. So let me switch screens over here. And let me, through the magic of this, let's see, what do I want to go to first? Yeah, let's go to this one. All right. Let me zoom that back down a little bit. Now, it might be a little difficult to see if you're on mobile. I understand that. I'm going to kind of read this as well, or if you're watching the podcast version. But basically, I'm starting up here. I sent some questions in about the WeighMaster license because that was mentioned in the previous show from the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. And that was mentioned. So here we go. I said, hey, Mark, I really appreciate your help in clarifying the laws and regulations surrounding the scales in tournaments. Like I said, I had no idea. I have a couple of further questions about the WeighMaster requirement, and I cited the statute that Mark Lovisa from the Department of Agriculture had sent. And so I had three basic questions, and I've got these highlighted in yellow here. Again, for those of you that can't see it or whatever, or the type's too small, don't worry. Here's question number one. Does this mean that anyone who performs the task of weighing fish at a tournament, giving away prizes of any sort, doesn't have to be money, prizes of any sort, must pass and qualify and pay the fee, the yearly fee, I think it is, with the training exam? That's to be a WeighMaster. All right. Number two, if so, can one person with the organization holding a tournament, giving away prizes, pass and qualify and pay the fee for the training exam to be a WeighMaster? Can they assign someone else to actually perform the weighing of the fish? So in other words, can one person do it and then somebody else is operating the scales, or does everybody associated with the scales in the tournament have to get this WeighMaster license and take this exam and pay this fee? And then number three, I asked him, I said, what about fishing tournaments that use a virtual system, such as a phone app, where they weigh their individual fish on their personal scales and submit pictures, etc., through the app? Because there are several of those out there. Look, in my screenshot, I was holding up my set of Bubba Scales. Bubba Scales has an app where you can put on this virtual tournament. I mean, you can have the tournament and do it for money if you wanted to. And interestingly, now this is something to think about, folks. So y'all let me know in the comments what you think about this. MLF was down on Toledo Bend. MLF does catch, weigh, release. They catch the fish. We've all seen it. We all know the format. They weigh them right there on their scales. They're now using Bubba Scales this year as well, by the way. And they release those fish, and they're absolutely competing for a lot of money. And MLF operated out of the Louisiana side of Toledo Bend. They were out of Cypress Bend. Now, I'm not accusing them of doing anything wrong. They may have reached out to the Louisiana Department of Agriculture, but they would have had to have had every official in each boat certified, pass the exam, which I don't think is that hard, and they would have had to have those scales certified based on the law. Now, don't kill the messenger here. I didn't stir this pot up. I was accused of doing this, and I know who's doing the accusations, and eventually I'll name the person and call them out. And so, to see what the actual law is and to make sure that my name wasn't dragged any further through the mud, I reached out to the Department of Agriculture, and down this rabbit hole we go. So please don't shoot the messenger. All right. Let's go to the second part of that email, which is actually the response. And this is the response from Mark to my questions. He says, hey, Rex, no problem. And you can see the email addresses. I'm going to post this after the show. You can see the email addresses. You can reach out to these same people. It's all public information. He says, hey, Rex, no problem. For questions 1 and 2, the licensed weighmaster is responsible for the weighments and must be present and oversee the weighing. They don't need to be the actual individual putting the fish on the scale, though. So, yes, one person at the tournament can be the licensed weighmaster, while other unlicensed individuals physically help perform the weighing, as long as the licensed weighmaster is in charge of the weighing. That would be acceptable. So that answered questions 1 and 2. Question number 3 about, hey, what about, the use of apps and, weighing in the boat and all that? All right. His response was, technology usually far outpaces regulation. I don't know the specifics of any virtual weigh-in systems, and I've never used or evaluated one as an unofficial way to track the standings of a tournament throughout the day. With the fish being officially weighed later on, it would be fine. But here's the kicker, in yellow highlighted there. As a means for making official weighments, I don't see how that could comply with our current law, though, short of every boat having a weighmaster and certified scale. Also, I would imagine questions about the type of scales used, if those scales can be leveled and zeroed properly on a fishing boat, the rules in place, if any, to prevent fraud, a means to verify the location and timestamp of the picture in the weighment would all have to be sorted out as well before that type of system could be used for official weighments. Now, most of the apps, that those use do actually geolocate and timestamp the pictures. I mean, they do this in kayak tournaments, but they're measuring length, not weight. But again, MLF style, and anybody wanting to hold a tournament MLF style, according to the Louisiana Department of Agriculture, not according to me, this absolutely applies. The weights and measures industry is nationally is generally open to new developing technologies, and there's a process in which new devices can go through to gain certification as being, quote, legal for trade, unquote. Again, if you're just out there having a potluck tournament, no money, no prize, no nothing, nobody cares. It's only when there's anything of any value with the tournament that this matters. And I hate to say it, guys, including jackpot tournaments. Now, I'm not going to be out there policing the tournaments. I don't care. If I fish a tournament, I don't care whether you're using a certified scale or not. I really don't. I'm not calling the Department of Agriculture. I've already shown the email. I never called them on anybody else. I'm just telling you what the law is because somebody stirred up the pot, somebody else stirred up the rumor mill, and accused me of doing it, and I'm not going to let that stand. So here we go. I will root out the truth and the facts in the end. All right. So anyway, I asked him about being a guest on the show. He said he was not sure if he's allowed, but he'll see with the PR office with the Louisiana Department of Agriculture if he can actually come on the show. I think it'd be a very interesting conversation. I've interviewed a lot of other people on Bossier Watch and Louisiana Watch, including state officials, our current attorney general, and all that. So hopefully I'll be able to get him on one of my podcast platforms and do an interview with Mark because he's very helpful. Look, they're more than willing to share information with you. All right. Any questions so far? Jacob Ryan Fontenot says, why be passive aggressive? Just say it. I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm holding my cards till I decide to play them when I want to. That's why. But I do appreciate the question. Okay. So, since show number 9 and 10, I wanted to share this out. And I did blur it out and all that because the person shared it on his timeline. And he shared it to friends only, which I'm a friend of his. So I did blur everything out so you can't really identify anything. But he's showing, and if he wants me to name it, I'll be glad to. But he's showing where he did calibrate his scales, and the night that I did the podcast, he went and took the WeighMaster license exam and got a score of 100%. So good for him. If you want me to share that out and name who it is, text me or send me a message, and I'll be glad to do that. All right. So that brings us to, let's see what other topics we want to talk about. All right. So that's clarification on training. I've shown the certificate completed. Now, Cassidy Caldwell from Shredfin did make a comment on one of the deals, said, well, this will never stand legally. A lawyer would rip this up in court. Maybe so, Cassidy, but I'm just telling you what the current law is. Now, my plan is to actually get with our local legislators, many of whom I know and am friends with, and see about getting some legislation written to provide some exceptions for fishing tournaments or some carve-outs in the existing law. And maybe we can get that accomplished in the next couple of legislative sessions. I have no idea. I'm just telling you what the existing law is right now. Again, it's a civil penalty, not a criminal. And it's not like the Wildlife and Fisheries shows up and checks this. This is literally on the Louisiana Department of Agriculture's shoulders to enforce this. I'm just telling you what the law is. All right. So let's talk about the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association for a minute. Let me see which one of these I want to show first. Yeah. So we'll go down that path for a minute. I didn't really have it listed in the show promotion deal. But anyway, this is a post that I made on the Outdoor News earlier today, because there's been a lot of questions, especially in the Caney Lake group, some of those in the Bussy Break groups, as what do you do if you catch a big fish? So here are my recommendations. Many of you may not realize this, but like Texas, the state of Louisiana doesn't keep official records for bass, crappie, or anything. That's actually always been handled, or for many, many, many decades, through the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association. There's no share-lunker type program in Louisiana, at least right now. Hopefully, the Wildlife and Fisheries in Louisiana will implement something like Texas has one day, because I hate to say it, Texas is kicking our ass as far as tourism in the fishing industry, specifically the bass fishing industry. All right. So my recommendations are this. If you catch a record class bass on any lake in the waters of Louisiana, follow these instructions or recommendations. Second deal there is you will need a Louisiana Department of Agriculture certified set of scales to weigh them on. That's actually in the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association rules. Again, this is not just going up there and taking a pound, a picture of your 10-pounder or 12-pounder or whatever and turning it loose. That you don't have to use certified scales. Nobody really cares. This is only if you're trying to get in the outdoor records for the state of Louisiana, which is handled by the LOWA. All right, number 3, if you go, like before you go to Caney, Bussy, or any lake, heck, even Caddo, Cross produces some big fish. Claiborne's starting to come on. Any lake where the potential is high for a record class fish, first find out who, get a phone number and contact name, and where the nearest set of certified scales are. That way, you catch the fish early in the morning or late in the evening, or you're night fishing and you catch one of these fish, you've got somebody to contact that you can get that fish to in a reasonable amount of time, so that hopefully the fish doesn't die, and get that fish certified. Now, I put a link to the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Fishing and Hunting Records in that particular post, so just go over to the Outdoor News page and check that out. I strongly encourage you, these are my recommendations, but go over to their page and actually read their rules for getting in the record books that Louisiana recognizes. Again, not the state. All right, it's the Outdoor Writers Association. So let me share a couple of screenshots real quick. And this is from their website. So again, I encourage you to go to their website and look at this to verify it. But number 1, you got to fill out the application properly. The species must be listed in their current records, which they do have those posted. All species must be examined by a fish biologist from the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, or a biologist or recognized authority from a local college or university. Physical examination if it's a new number 1 record, or can be a photo if it's going to be second to 10th place. So if you're going to try to break Greg Wiggins's record, you got to have physical examination by a biologist, which means you got to convince the wildlife and fisheries biologist. And look, I'm sure Jeff Sibley, he's a great guy with Region 1. I'm sure Jeff would be more than willing to come to you to examine that or let you bring the fish to him. Obviously, try to keep the fish alive. So anyway, but again, that depends on what region you're on and who's available. And then looks like second through 10th place, take good photos of it, and the biologist can do a photo examination. I guess if you're over there at Caney, maybe you could get a biologist from Louisiana Tech or something like that to take a look at it, and that would qualify too, according to these rules. Says that individual correctly identify the species, verify all data, and will check the fish for any signs of mutilation from shooting, foul hooking, snagging, or other violations. There's a $25 non-refundable fee. Got to make it out to LOWA Fish Records. Any member of LOWA in the state will assist participants in completing the application, not in measuring, weighing, or verifying the fish. All right. So that's their general rules. Again, go to their website and check all this out. And here are the other things that are necessary. Let me roll this up and see if we can make this a little bigger. Again, this is on their website. You must fill out, in addition to all the other stuff, you must fill out the application completely. The only scales inspected by the Louisiana Department of Agriculture may be used. The total weight must include fractional weight information. Now, interestingly, I talked to somebody today that may be coming on the show, and he had talked to the Mark at the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. Mark told him for a fish to qualify for the records, even though the state doesn't manage these, so I don't really see why that has any bearing, but for it to qualify for the records, the person weighing the fish for the official weight has to be a WeighMaster certified through the Department of Agriculture. Now, I've reached out to the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association. They actually commented on my Facebook post. I responded to them there, and I also sent an email to them because they don't list a phone number. And I'm trying to get a contact person's name because I have a very good friend of mine, Glenn Harris. I think he's still in the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association. And try to see if I can get a contact phone number for somebody to verify, does the person weighing the fish with the certified scales have to be a certified WeighMaster as well, or not? Number 6 here, clear photographs showing the side of the fish from nose to tail must be submitted along with the application, along with a photo of the angler and rod and reel used to catch the fish. They reserve the right to publish or distributing photographs. Digital photos are preferred. Send a printed copy of the application and also email a JPEG file or link to the file using our contact form. And then lastly, there's where to turn in the completed applications, and then the rejection if any rule is violated or the application fee is not closed. Again, it's Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association. I didn't make these rules. I'm just showing you because we want to try, especially again, they've been catching so many big fish again on Caney, and now Bussy Break is, they're catching huge fish over at Bussy Break. I'm trying to get this information shared out there so that we can let everybody know. Okay. I think that's probably all I want to talk about. Maybe I'll show again. This is the, let me get this thing here out of the way. This is the WeighMaster certificate again, just in case you want to see what it looks like. That's a scale certification, and Michelli or McKelly or however you say it, that a lot of people use to do those scale certifications. The certificate of achievement, there it is. That's through the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. So reach out to them if you run a tournament around here or anywhere in the state of Louisiana. Reach out to the Louisiana Department of Agriculture. Their phone numbers and emails are all posted on the Outdoor News. I've got posts up with them. And, again, check and see what you may or may not need to do. Now, I wanted to show y'all just a little technology moment here. This is the desk that I see. And of course, excuse the mess, folks, but this is the desk that I see when I'm doing a podcasting show. When I'm doing my other podcasts, like on Bossier Watch and Louisiana Watch, I usually have my laptop fired up too and about 3 monitors running for that. But anyway, to give you a little background on how I produce these shows, there we go. So Kevin Whitmire has a question. Let's see. Just curious, if you don't care about certified scales, why go down the rabbit holes again about them? Okay, Kevin, and I know exactly why you're asking. Because I was accused of turning in a tournament organization, and the one that you're thinking about, I absolutely did not. Word got back to me again after I raised Cain about the whole Caney situation with the high school fishing and some of the negative as well as some of the positive things that went on down there. I was accused again of turning in the league. I've been told by multiple people, and they all said the same person said it. So I'm like, okay, again, you can go back and watch show 10. I contacted the Louisiana Department of Agriculture, did a public information request, and requested all records of any complaints that have been made in the entire North Louisiana area against any tournament organizations, because that's all public record. You call in and make a complaint, it's public record. Sorry. So I did a request to see, all right, who did it? Who done it? Nobody did. So whoever told you that and told you that about the tournament trail that we're talking about, look, I'll just go ahead and say it's the Funkbuster Trail. It's complete BS. And I'm tired of it. So we can either keep playing this little game of the rumor mill, or we can fight facts. And the facts are that none of that, as a matter of fact, hold on a second. And look, I appreciate the question, Kevin. I really do. I appreciate the question. But, you know, it just ticks me off when people accuse me of doing things, and the person that's doing the accusing is actually the one stirring the pot. And you know who he is. So here is the deal. Look, just to rehash again, this was in show 10, so you can go back and watch that one. I covered this extensively, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. But you can see right here where I asked them for the information, right here, and their reply is no documents responsive to your request in custody. So, in other words, nobody has ever reported anybody to the Louisiana Department of Agriculture, and they're the ones charged legally with overseeing all this. So that's why. Seems that it would be a lot easier to leave it alone. Well, that's true, Kevin. I could have left it alone, except I'm tired of my damn name being run through the mud. All right, hold on just a second. Uh, Let me send you a link. Hold on, Paul. I'll tell you how. Just hold on a second, Paul, and I will send you a text message. With a link. If you will click that link that I just sent you, Paul, that should bring you in the show. Make sure if it asks you for permission for your microphone and camera that you give it permission, or we won't be able to see or hear you. And I'll go ahead and set this up. Let's see. Everybody, hold on just a second. We may have a guest coming in. Just a second, everybody. All right. Hold on just a second, Paul. Let me get this out of the way. Just a second. Here and this here. Out of the way. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hey, Rex.
Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
Hang on, let me turn my computer down.
Okay, yeah, that way we don't get the feedback and the echo. And if you would, maybe flip your camera around.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Turn my computer down.
Okay, yeah, that way we don't get the feedback and the echo. And if you bear with us, folks.
I'm trying.
Okay. A little bit of delay and echo. Hold on, folks.
Bear with us, folks. Let's see. I'm trying to turn my camera around. I don't know.
You're probably, if you need to, you can go back out. Yeah, use that same link and come back in. All right, hold on, folks. We're trying to get Mr. Funk in. Ah, there you are.
I think I got it. Okay.
Howdy, can you
I
hear
think I'm
me?
here.
Okay, so there may be a little bit of a delay or lag, so just be aware of that when we're talking to each other. Your connection looks pretty good. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
All right, and let me know in the comments, everybody. Kevin, let me know if y'all can make sure y'all can hear Paul. I'm showing his audio coming through fine, so everything should be fine. All right, good evening, Mr. Funkbuster.
How are you?
Not too bad. So, let's have a chat.
So first, I didn't give you permission to use my photo. Thank you for at least blurring out my name.
All right,
Um, but I would like to know how I am tied to this accusation of all the stuff that's going on.
you're not.
You just mentioned Funkbuster Trail.
Yeah, yeah. I got
So
accused. I was accused of turning in the Funkbuster Trail as well as the high school league. I've been accused of that now.
no, sir, not by me.
Okay, no, I didn't say by you. I've been accused of that by another person. This is going through the rumor mill too. Not only have I turned in the high school league, supposedly I've turned in the Funkbuster team trail too. Not by you.
So here's my thoughts, Rex. So I had Miss Nikki, and Miss Nikki has been in all your email traffic and stuff.
Right.
So she came over tonight, this evening, and registered my scales. Right. So I have tried to. I've stepped back. I've listened to everything you've said. Um, Whether people agree, other tournament directors agree with the law, that's up to them, right?
Right.
So that's, they can either conform or not conform. I've had discussions with, I'll say, the other top 5 tournament directors in the local area. We've all come to a conclusion that it's law. I have ran it through an attorney. It's Some people say, well, no, this was built in 1953 for Farmer Brown and his wife to go
Yeah.
pick produce and sell it at the market. It is not. If you read the rules, or if you read the couple of sentences, and you have to pick apart the legal jargon about it, it's 100%. Because if we weigh a fish, that's a commodity, right? So we are giving away a prize or whatever like that. And the law, even that one sentence even says, if you're going to weigh a commodity for a prize or whatever, money, it's it's required by law.
Right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Was it created for bass fishermen? I doubt it. And I'm not going to put words in Miss Nikki's mouth, because she explained to me the exact email that you posted tonight, and shared it with me so that I can put it in my weight scale case, right? In case this question gets arised at any future tournaments. Um, but so where does it end? And I know you're frustrated. I got you. I know you're pissed off. Excuse my language.
No,
I got you.
you can use any language you want.
And I understand. It's got to end somewhere, right? So I've heard there's two sides to every story, and I've heard that you have vendettas. Uh, Other people have vendettas. I got you, but it's got to end, or this sport here in Northwest Louisiana is it's going to become a shit show, and that's
Yes.
not what want. I want my tournament trail to grow. I fished Mike Eccles. I haven't fished Mike Cork's trail yet because the dates are wrong. But I fished Mike Eccles Thursday night, so I'll fish tomorrow night. I've had many discussions with him. We've all agreed not to step on each other's toes as tournament directors. And um, I, where does it end? I'm just tired of it.
Well, here's the deal. So, one, alls I'm doing is posting as I found out the law. It's that simple. Number two, now
Yes, sir.
that's as it concerns you or any other tournament trail. I don't care who it is. The only reason I mentioned you tonight is now the rumor mill is circulating. Oh yeah, we turned in Paul's trail too. So you have confirmed, and that rumor did not come from you, but it's comes from a mutual friend that we both know, and he doesn't want me to share his name out right now. Okay, very
Okay.
credible friend that heard it directly. All right. So I wanted to make sure it was clear that I haven't turned anybody's trail in, period. I don't care. Let me be clear. I don't care. I've said it over and over on the show publicly. I don't care whether any tournament trail has certified scales or not. I don't care whether any tournament trail does transferring of fish between Cypress and Black Bayou, which is not legal. However, if I'm fishing the tournament and we have to follow the law, well, guess what the law is? Or if I'm associated with the tournament, or if I happen to be sponsoring said tournament, or happen to be videoing it on behalf of the tournament trail, I don't want my name dragged through the mud again. I'm sick of this crap. It's like a bunch of women. And I hate to be sound chauvinistic, but it's true. And look, Paul, I consider you a friend. We've known each other for many years. You used to build great baits. I wish you'd actually start building them again, but that's a whole other conversation. So this really has nothing, zero, to do with you. It has everything to do with people starting the rumor that I turned somebody in. I called to verify that whether I had or anybody else had turned anybody in. The email's crystal clear. Ain't nobody even reported anybody else. And in going down that rabbit hole to clear my name publicly, very publicly, I went down the rabbit hole of what is the law because I had no idea. And here we are.
Uh, and so, and completely honest, I do not know who this person is. I don't know where the rumors started. I can tell you that I think it was Mr. Adcock called me and asked how to get the scales certified through. Now this is through, and I slaughtered the name,
Yeah, I do too.
Shipley or whatever, you know.
Mhm.
And to me, I always thought that whenever I went to them year after year since I started Funkbuster Team Trail, I thought that was a certified scale, right? And not until you brought this up and brought this out that it wasn't until, and I talked to Mike Eccles last night, not to bring his name into it, but
Yeah.
he's like, yes, I've had this since he did the Ronald McDonald tournament trail. He does it every single year. He got his scales a new sticker this morning, right? So we're trying to do the right thing. Uh,
Look, I've been around tournaments. I've been fishing for 35, 40 years. I did not even know that it was required by law to have a certified scale until I called the Department of Agriculture to see if anybody had reported anybody. I didn't even know that you had to have a certified scale.
right.
I mean, like I said, and I've said it over and over, if the scale's off for one person in the weigh-in, it's off for everybody. So who cares? You're not selling me hamburger meat. We're weighing something and everybody gets weighed exactly the same process, even if the scale's off. Then if it's off for my weight, then it's off for your weight too.
And so, and not to direct anything at you personally, right? So I think a lot of tournament directors right now are frustrated and pissed off that you uncovered this, right? So you uncovered it. And we want to do the right. Some of us, most of us, I'll say 99% of us want to do the right thing, right? So we're gonna get certified scales. We're gonna get the WeighMaster, blah blah blah. Um, I forgot where I was even going with this. Uh,
Well, just that
anyway,
I'm sure there are a lot of tournament directors or tournament people that are pissed off at me or not happy right now that I'm bringing this. But I didn't make the law. The law's been there. We just all
no,
literally we're
yeah,
not following the law. All of
no,
us.
100%. And
Yeah.
you mentioned it on one of my posts today. hey, come on and talk about being a target on my chest and a target on my back. You were the correct me if I'm wrong, but you were at Cato, and Cato is my thorn in my side when I run a tournament. You were at Cato when a gentleman questioned the 12-inch rule, and I said, "No, you know the rules of a tournament, right?" But I didn't say 12 to 14 inches is a legal fish, and so I let them weigh in. It didn't affect. They still got second place. They didn't affect the standings, but then you have to make a new rule that says, okay, every fish must be at least 12 inches long. And that's the frustration piece that I'm feeling, and I'm frustrated and I'm pissed off that I have to go through this rigor mortis, but it's the right thing to do because it's law.
Yeah,
Man,
look, I agree with you 100%. Look, half the rules in Bassmaster are Roland Martin rules. Let's be clear, because he always, went in the gray area and the edge. Not half the rules. I'm being a little facetious there, but and so a lot of those rules were written during Roland Martin's era, and some of them written for other anglers and all that. As people try to walk that line, look. First and foremost, I want everybody watching to know, and I absolutely will say this publicly. I think your trail, you run it straight up honestly at a very high level, and you try to do everything to make sure the anglers, even though I haven't fished the trail in a couple of years, make sure the anglers are treated fairly and are happy as bass anglers can be sometimes. And there are zero issues, and I'd recommend everybody go fish your trail. Hell, I tried to help promote it the first year that I fished it.
I know you did.
All right. So I want to be very clear about this. This isn't targeting. I'm not doing. I didn't go down this rabbit hole of Department of Agriculture because I'm pissed off at everybody. I went down it because I was being accused of something, and then poof, this whole rabbit hole opened up. That wait a minute, we all haven't been doing this completely legally the whole time.
I just, and the reason why I wanted to call in and talk is because I heard Funkbuster Team Trail, and I do not, and you know this, I suffer from negativity every year, once or twice a year, that gets spread even as far as Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, that Paul Funk can't run a tournament to save his life, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I heard Funkbuster Team Trail, and I was like, nope, I've got to speak up and be heard.
Well, look, and I invite everybody, Kevin, if you want to come on, you're welcome to come on and join us too. I invite everybody to comment, positive or negative. Just keep it kind of civil. Not, you don't have to be completely civil. Keep it kind of civil, and you're welcome to come on the show. Paul, you're welcome to come on anytime, but it's like I told you. If people are saying negative things about you, it's like me. People have been doing this, and I've just let it go. I finally got tired of it, honestly. And I've got a platform. You've got a platform. I don't care. I'm not saying anything to somebody that, Paul, I wouldn't drive over and we could go have dinner and I would tell you to your face. And I'm not saying anything else about anybody, including the high school league, that I haven't literally, some of this, I haven't literally told them to their faces. And we have had these discussions. I just had enough.
No, and I agree. I understand your frustration, and I do. I just we Mr. Robert Thomas just put it together. I mean, we somehow or another, as either tournament trails or tournaments in a um tournament trails or the certification for WeighMaster and stuff, it's the law. So let's do it. But somehow or another, we've just got to put all this negativity behind us. And I know you say you're going to come out and eventually identify the person. That's on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is frustration with the last couple podcasts, and
Oh, I'm
I'd
sure.
rather have I'd rather have it positive and positive to the local area because I don't want to bring negativity to Northwest Louisiana and on any team trail, any high school event, anything like that. I'm tired of the negativity. How do we fix it? That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying is we
Well,
just got to.
here's what we have to do is the people that are spreading that have to, let me say this politically correct for the show, have to have the kahunas to actually tell you to your face and quit doing the little sniping and the backbiting and all that certain people do. Because
I got.
I'm gonna call them all out. I'll do it very publicly. I'll do it at a damn weigh-in. I don't care. Most of the weigh-ins take place on public lakes, in public parks, or public facilities. I'll call them all out in public. Doesn't matter to me. I've literally had enough.
I know, but don't turn into a pinata.
Well, I'm already a pinata, so oh well. And look, I realize some of this I've done to myself, but I didn't realize how long this rumor had actually been circulating. And apparently it's been circulating for a while, according to multiple people now. And it just pissed me off. So tonight was not supposed to be really negative. The only negative for tonight was the discussion about the rumor mill, and that's how I got started down this rabbit hole. Tonight was supposed to be more about, hey, here's what, because Cassidy Caldwell made the comment about, oh, well, this may not be completely, may not stand up in a court of law, or I'm paraphrasing. You can go read his exact comment. And I wanted to address that. Here's the emails that the Department of Agriculture responded with. And we might not like it. I'm going to try to get our local legislators to get some legislation passed, like I said, to do a carve out or do some exceptions for this so that maybe in the future we don't have to, as bass tournaments, have to worry about this. But right now, the law is law.
Somehow, some way, somebody's going to tie this to a gambling state with legal, where we gamble. So I would say a bass tournament is kind of a gamble. I put money on the table and I draw my best five cards, and it's a poker face. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know how to fix it. All I know is I'm doing my best to stay within the legal laws, and you identified those and uncovered it, and I'm gonna help anybody that needs help to get in contact with, just like you are. You've sent the emails and the addresses and everything like that. There is a local trail that's coming over to the house Friday night, right? So that I can log into the computer, so I can show them how to do it legally. Uh, I've already warned Miss Nikki that it's coming. Two or three other trails warned her, said, "Yep, you're going to have this with this trail and this trail." Um, if that's the current law in 2024, okay, well we got to abide by it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
got
and not to split hairs, but it's been the law for a while. It's just we figured it
oh
out
yeah,
or discovered it
1953,
accidentally. Yeah. Yeah.
1953.
Yeah. So look, and hat tip to you for helping other trails make sure that they get certified and all that and get their WeighMaster license. Now, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if you saw the part where I was talking about the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association, which really
Yeah,
is not doesn't have any bearing on the trails and all that and the fishing tournaments, but it'll be interesting to see what their response is on the Weighmaster certification if somebody happens to catch a big fish. Look, if Funkbuster goes down to Caney, somebody brings in a 16-pound fish, it will come into play then. So it'll be interesting to see what their response to that is.
yeah, absolutely. And you remember January 1st, through 5 years ago now, that Josh Witt caught a 11-pound, 13-pound something on Caddo, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We just happened to have Bass Life representation and did the paperwork and stuff. Uh, was it was it on a certified scale? No, it was on my scale. So
yeah,
I mean, 5 years ago, my scale wasn't certified. Apparently, I don't know,
right.
but I can tell you that fish is hanging on his wall, and I vouched that it was 13 pounds.
Yeah. Well, and look, most of this only matters if you're trying to get in the record books, which is maintained by the Louisiana Outdoor Writers Association. If you catch a 13-pound fish, that's not going to get in the record books, but it's good to have it on a set of scales, certified or not. Better, maybe certified better, so that you're getting a dead accurate weight. But I think my Bubba scales would be within a few ounces probably. You take good pictures of it, get a replica done. If you want to, keep the fish, whatever. And I think everybody's good with that, but it only applies if it's going to be for the record books.
100%.
Yeah.
So not to extend the show, not to do anything, but there's a person watching tonight that asked me early on in a Funkbuster Team Trail event on Caddo, right? Him and his partner caught an 8-pounder, it's 7 or 8 pounder, right? But it was a big fish. Didn't fit in the live well. Um, So I said, here, as a tournament director on the water, fishing the thing, I said, go to Drift In, get it certified. And now I know Drift In actually has certified scales, right? Louisiana agriculture certified scales. I didn't know that then, but I said, um, get this weighed, release the fish, bring me the piece of paper, official piece of paper that says that. You would not believe, and you might have even been there that day. That created such a target on my back yet again. It got spread all the way to Sam Rayburn, Lake Fork, and Toledo
Well, what
Bend.
was, I mean, what did they try to target you with?
Because it wasn't weighed on the same set of scales that the
Well,
rest of the.
okay.
And I got you. I got you.
Yeah, look, I can kind of see that. To me, it's weight on a certified scale. And so that would be more accurate. But I can see where if you're not, if, well, it goes back to my deal earlier where I said, if it's off for one, it's off for everybody. But then I guess there is a point to that. But I want to make one other thing clear. So if you weigh it on a second set of scales that may or may not be off, it may actually give that person a slight advantage, or it could go the other way. It could be a disadvantage to that person that was on the certified scale. But
Uh,
let me address something else. You're the tournament director of your tournament trail, correct?
yeah, yes, sir.
You make the rules, right?
100%.
Okay, you decide the rules, right?
100%.
You're the tournament director, and I hadn't read your rules in a while, but probably one of the rules is something that all decisions as a tournament director are final. It's your tournament
Yes.
trail. You made the call right there. If people don't like it, they can go start their own tournament trail.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, one thing you've talked about before and is fish conservation, right? So I am not going to let two guys stick a 8.5 pound fish that supposedly at the time did not fit well into the live well and let it die to either turn it back loose and let it die at the ramp, because I have actually waited out in the water afterwards to get dead fish, only to not bring discredit upon the Funkbuster team trail.
Yeah, because 8 pound fish died and Funkbuster did it. I'd probably be calling you out here on the podcast. I'm just
I
kidding,
know
but
you would.
just
No, you
kidding,
would.
but yeah, I'm as much about. Look, I don't care if somebody keeps all the fish they want and they go fry them. I don't care, but in a tournament situation, I'm all about catch and release. Let's treat our resource, as good as we can and all that kind of good stuff. And I think you made the exact right call, and everybody else can go pound sand. How about that?
Yeah, and I do. I stand by the decision I made. That day.
Well, all right. So I don't know. We can go on and tell me this:
Uh,
are you ever going to start building Funkbuster baits again?
it's a possibility.
See some breaking potential news here that we're uncovering on this show. Now you've got my interest peaked. I'm getting low on the Wesley Warbirds.
Possibility.
If you happen to go out to your garage and your boat appears to have been broken into, I'm only taking a few Warbirds. That's it.
Roger that.
All right. All right, Paul. Well, I'm going to just pretty much wrap it up here. Look, I appreciate the comments from Kevin. And Kevin, your comment earlier where you want to talk about mental health. Hey, I'd love to have you on a podcast. You can do it from Tennessee, just like Paul's calling in, or I've even got a call in phone number if you don't have a good internet connection. I'd love to have you on, brother. And let's talk about mental health and fishing and spend an evening talking about that. Reach out to me some more on Facebook or whatever, and let's see if we can put that together. Paul, you're welcome on anytime. If you have some interesting stuff you want to share and want to come over here and share it, that's fine with me. And like I said, anybody that's watching, anybody that sees the replay of this after the fact, Paul puts on an excellent tournament trail. Go fish it. If you want a very low drama, straightforward tournament trail, go fish Funkbuster.
Thanks, Rex.
I'm going to hit end, which will not hang you up, but will cut us off from everybody else. We'll see y'all later.